Welcome to another edition of Bleav in Giants. Bob Papa with two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. And Carl, the new year sort of started the way the last year ended. 2022 did not change the fortunes of the Giants as they lose in Chicago 29-3. And it was, listen, they got beat in every phase of the game on Sunday. The only bright spot, Saquon Barkley going over 100 yards for the first time since December 22nd of 2019. But special teams, defense, and obviously offensively, all had fingerprints in why this team can't get out of its own way.
So let's start on the good stuff. Hey, Bob, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, we brought the cold weather back from Chicago.
Yes, wow. It's officially winter here. Let's start with the good stuff. Saquon Barkley played like it mattered to him, right? It mattered that he changed the perception of what people are saying and thinking of him. Like he's not the same. He's not 100% either on this ankle. Not only did he show that he's almost there, but he also showed through example that, hey, you can ride me this game and I'll get us in it. Okay, I'm gonna get back to that part. And then there was Lorenzo Carter, who in a game where, the defense had some short fields, granted, but as the game went on, the defense had some opportunities that were not capitalized on. Lorenzo Carter, his play was an example that others should have followed. Okay? So those are the two bright spots. There might be some other stuff.
Yeah, like
right?
Like Leonard Williams led the team in tackles. They didn't let Montgomery really churn up big yards in the football game.
Yes.
I'll give Leonard his prop.
Yeah, but look, I'm talking about guys who stood out and say, follow me. Lorenzo Carter had a follow me game. Saquon Barkley, whatever you need, I got it for you. Let's go. But that is where, from an offensive standpoint and from a coaching standpoint, we have to really unpack. You and I were on the field in pregame, and we walked off, and I'm going to share a little bit of this conversation with our listeners. We walked off, and I think we both agreed that, if things didn't get worse, there would be probably a chance that the head coach would be fine, right? Just don't, we know it's going to be bad, just given what the circumstances are. The reality on the ground is that they're not very good. And injuries don't factor in normally, but this is the state of the bottom. How bad is it? That's what they ask, right? Okay, can it get better from here? So we know how bad it was, right? No receivers, this, that, and the other. Go out, compete. Owners, and I don't speak for ownership, but just my thought process is that their thought process is, okay, if we made a commitment to bring him back, let's not make it worser. You know what I mean? Just go out, give the effort, and give us the hope that if we see, again, I'm not speaking for owners. I'm speaking in a mindset of, okay, if we're resolved, if I'm resolved, if we're resolved to bring this back.
Yeah, you're talking more in generalities,
right?
Of what in a situation like this,
right? Okay, if this is the worst it can get, let's start to build, right? Just don't make it, as I say, worser, because we know you're coming in, you got a crappy quarterback, backup situation on your hands. You don't have a full complement of anything. Defensive backfield's a bit ravaged, but they always show up in some degree. They don't necessarily take advantage of the things. They have to be a complementary football team, which they just can't seem to be, right? So we walk off the field, and I'm resolved to say, okay, well, they just go out and they perform and they play hard. And they give the effort, knowing that this is, their weight class. There are gonna be opportunities. Figure out how to either win this game or lose tough, right? And you show up the first play of the game. Now, I'm gonna give some context to this. We have seen that this offensive line, in terms of pass protection, is inconsistent at best, right? We have seen a backup quarterback situation that's not even inconsistent. The backup quarterback situation is bad when it comes to passing the ball. So you combine inconsistent at best offensive line in terms of pass protection and a quarterback situation, backup quarterback situation that is just not good. And then you mix in Robert Quinn and the rest of the guys who are really good pass rushers. And you open the game in a spread formation.
Empty, yeah.
How do I feel good about that? Right? So I'm like, wait a minute. And I think I said on air, why are they in a spread formation? You open the game with a fumble because you can't, like, if there's ever strategically a thing is called giving the other guy what they want, that was it. Because you weren't fooling them into thinking that it was going to be anything else. It was empty formation with a quarterback who does not make great decisions with the football. So A-gap blitz. And this one actually, because I read some of what Sean O'Hara was saying, he said the decision making by the quarterback is what caused that play to happen. They had everything diagnosed.
I read that. I read Sean O'Hara's breakdown on it as a former Super Bowl champion center. And he said that play, they blocked it fine. So that play was blocked fine.
And the quarterback, maybe.
On the quarterback.
So again, go back to what I said. Inconsistent at best offensive line. So they were good on that one. A quarterback situation that is a mess and a good pass rushing defensive front. If two of those three things happen, it's disaster. You got to have two of those three things to happen correctly. Two of those three things were bad, meaning the defensive front were who you thought they were, and the quarterback was who you thought he would be, and disaster. So I'm trying to understand why it took up until the second quarter for them to even say, okay, we need to start running the football. This is our path. We can't pass it. You don't have to have pride.
Well, the second series, Carl. The second series, they ran it. Barkley for 8, Booker for 4, direct snap to Barkley for 6, Booker for 2, 3rd and 2, pass tipped, intercepted.
Right. 3rd and what?
3rd and 2.
Okay. You just ran the ball for what, 40-something yards?
No, not that many.
No.
18 yards.
On the second drive of the game.
Second possession of the game.
Yeah. So you got 18 yards, you get 3rd and 2.
20 yards, 20 yards.
20 yards, right? So you're 3rd and 2. And I'm going to keep going back to this. You've got an offensive line that's inconsistent at best, right? That's the reality. We know that. But you got a quarterback situation that's a mess. why won't you just approach this, just given the success you've had running the football, approach this as 4-down situation, right? 3rd and 2, run it, get the first down. If you don't get it, run it again. I don't understand how this mindset from an offensive standpoint, I don't know if it's arrogance. I don't know if it's, we got to stick with the script and we'll get to those plays when we get to those plays. But the best quarterback on the field yesterday was Saquon Barkley out of Wildcat. I'm saying all of this, Bob, to say, Coach Judge, I believe in you. I believe you're a good coach, but you're not winning folk over when they don't think that you are insisting on being the general. You have a defensive coordinator that can kind of work autonomously, right? Because you've seen consistency from the defensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball is a hot mess. And for the sake, you got one more game to make us feel better. And for the sake of the 2 great coaches that you worked under, for the sake of everything that you subscribe to, that you've learned under those guys in other places, in terms of your approach to football, how things are done, for the sake of those guys, make us think that you can intervene on that side of the ball and look at something and say, we're not running that. I don't want to see this. We'll get to that if we have to, only in case of emergency. Right now, I have a quarterback situation that's a hot mess. If we can run the ball, we're going to do it. And if the other team knows we're going to run it, I don't effing care. We're going to run it. Give me 3 or 4 personnel groupings that will not detach more than 2 people from my formation, and we're going to run it. And then I need a couple passes off of that. But this is what we need to do. I cannot convince a single fan, and I will not. I'm going to tell you what my belief is, but I'm going to say, look, whatever's happening in the public sphere, they feel justified in saying it, right? And I can't defend it, because until this team can give anybody hope that there's a semblance of better things to come defensively, I see where they are. Special teams is a mess. You know, you got a great kicker. Punter's not good now. Again, there are facts on the ground that will be considered during the autopsy, meaning.
Yeah, and let's not forget that the special teams coordinator, Thomas McGahee, has won a Super Bowl with the Giants, and his assistant, Tom Quinn, has won a Super Bowl with the Giants. So we
and their head coach, who's a special teams guy, has won a
bunch of, yeah.
So but
that might be speaking a little bit too to some of the personnel on this roster.
Right, but that's not what we're talking about right now. I mean, that's going to get factored in. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's going to happen during the autopsy. But when you show up, things like if the ball is sailing towards the end zone and you think it's going to be a touchback, make sure that ball goes into the end zone before you start jogging off the field. I'm sure they're teaching it, but I don't know if he's a first-time returner, how many times he's returned.
They've been returning them all year.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point.
It's been his whole career has been special teams.
So you're going to sit there and act like you are new to this process, meaning the player. Those are the things that, okay, when a coach teaches it all week and a player goes out there and lays an egg, that's on the player. But then when the facts on the ground say that this is what's available to you offensively, you've got two backs, you can run the football, and you decide to start the game in empty formation. Joe, you got to have veto power. You know, I want to believe that this thing is going to go. I do believe in Joe Judge. I think he's the right coach. But we got a week to just put something together. And people are going to say, it doesn't matter, it's too late, right? But if a team, organization has said he's going to be back, then make me feel good about that. Make me feel good. And again, I'm not speaking for owners, generalities, if you will, but in that mindset. Make me feel, even if you lose to Washington, given the facts on the ground of what you have available to you, lose being organized, lose being cohesive, lose being a team that has some organization that understands how to put personnel in position to show that if they were better personnel-wise, they would have a little more success, right? But you can say that, well, if Daniel Jones was here, we could go for it on 3rd and 2, but that ain't the situation on the ground. Daniel Jones wasn't walking out of the locker room in uniform for the rest of this year. So that is not your reality. Your reality is you got a guy, you got two guys that you just can't rely on. I mean, how do you go negative 16 yards passing early in the game? That means you're going backwards.
I never seen anything like it.
What's a negative 16 yards passing? It's like throwing the ball behind you.
I mean, look at how about this one? Devontae Booker led the Giants in receptions with 2 for 0 yards.
Yeah.
That's impossible in today's NFL.
But
they had minus 10 yards net passing in the game.
That makes no sense.
Well, it's like, I saw people were posting, some people that cover the team, like on the sack that Robert Quinn got. Carl, I mean, you were looking at that play. You saw what was going on that play. And on the sack that Andrew Thomas, quote unquote, gave up, that's another one that you put on the quarterback.
Yeah. So Quinn gets chipped and Thomas pushes him. All the quarterback has to do is step up or step right, and that's not a sack. So listen, I want to feel better about supporting Joe Judge. I'll take the arrows for my opinion, but I clearly understand where people are coming from. And listen, you had a pass play to Evan Ingram on the move. Well designed, off of some kind of run action, off of the things that you were successful with. Did that play ever show up again? No. It's how do you have a script where if something works, you don't get around to it until you finish the rest of the script? That's out of touch in your offensive play calling. If you're calling plays that work, and you see which ones work and you go back to those. So I'm saying that to say, show some oversight. I know that there is not a full complement, but nobody has a full complement of players anymore. You are where you are as a result of several things, but you've got to show up on game day and look like you have an offensive plan. Like, yeah, okay, you got to your plan when things started working with the running backs, but why would you even open it up and put yourself in the hole? That play, even if they blocked it right, you got a quarterback who doesn't.
Yeah, he's very indecisive in his decision making.
Yeah.
And you can see it in person. There's a complete lack of confidence. Carl, there was that little hitch, and that little hitch was causing the ball when he did throw it to go in there late and it's getting knocked away and all that other stuff. He seemed very uncertain. So we will, at the end of the week, we will reconvene. And now that we've put this to bed, we will get ready for the game against Washington, the regular season finale. We'll see who's on the COVID list, who's off the COVID list. That's another game that happens with every team. But Carl, tell a friend to tell a friend. Is that the way we like to end it?
Yeah, tell a friend to tell a friend. I had some things to say, so make sure you tell everybody to tune in and listen.
Bleav in Giants. For Carl Banks, I'm Bob Papa. We'll see you later in the week for another installment of Bleav in Giants with Banks and Papa.